bowl season is here, and it's going to hit San Antonio tomorrow night as UTSA takes on Marshall up there in Frisco. And joining us now on the Buyers Barricades guest line, UTSA head coach Jeff Traylor. Coach, how's bowl week been for you guys?
It's good. We're getting a little used to it, honestly. 4 years in a row. First time I've had every kid eligible here. This group had the second highest APR in the history of our school. In the era of the transfer portal with everybody, moving around and leaving, it's pretty remarkable. And we're just used to being here. We just done it 4 times in a row, and I think we've kind of figured out that we're supposed to be here, and hopefully we figured out how to win one now, Jason.
Jeff, it looks like you guys are having a good time. I saw the other day there was cheerleaders and Jerry and the Cowboys doing, maybe not Jerry, but the cheerleaders were out. I mean, do they treat you right? The good dinners and the extracurricular activities?
Yeah, it's a fine line. You want to be able to celebrate another good season and enjoy things, but this particular group's a little more probably pressed, determined. Those 18 seniors, it's kind of the last thing on their list. Obviously, we wish we could have been 3-time consecutive conference champions, but this group won 2. But the last thing on the bucket list is to win that bowl game.
You mentioned the 18 seniors, and one in particular in Frank Harris, and that's the one thing on his resume that needs to get checked off. That bowl win, the first one for UTSA, and he'll have so many firsts. But as special as your relationship is with Frank Harris, does that make this game tougher, a little bit more bittersweet than most of the time when you're sending off your seniors?
Oh, it's just, the number 4. I mean, it's 4 years. That's just a long time in college football nowadays for anybody to stay together. It's kind of like dog years. We've really been together 28 years in the new land of college football. And you mix in Rashad Wisdom and Josh Cephas and Terrell Haynes and Lucas Dean. And so many of those guys have started like all 4 years. Rashad and Frank have been in the 0, which is the most prestigious number on our team. And that's what makes it all just, surreal. Life flashes right in front of your eyes so quickly. And then you put me on the sideline to watch my Buckeyes win the first state championship since 2014, which was my last game there. And we all happened to be here. And it wasn't dead. I could be at the game. I was on the sideline. I'm getting older, Joe and Jason. Things are going by fast, and I'm like, this is getting crazy.
Well, that happens, Coach. You wake up and we're a week from Christmas already. But I have to imagine, along with getting your team prepared for this bowl game, you've been a busy man as well. I mean, we got signing day coming up with the transfer portal and all of that stuff, and I would imagine that you've been doing some other things as well.
Yeah, it's something there's a lot of things we need to get fixed right now with college football. There's a lot of great things about it too, but just the calendar right now, for 2 years in a row, we played in a conference championship. We had to prepare like this year because we were undefeated going to the last week. So you can't have official visits that weekend. Then our bowl game got bumped up earlier than we anticipated. So we had 1 weekend to get all of our official visits done before signing day. So we had to have about 20 last weekend. That's not ideal. You'd like to have 7 or 8 families in 3 weekends in a row, but you just can't do it because we had no time to get it done. So, yeah, signing days in the morning. I've said it used to be a huge deal. I'm not so sure it is anymore. I think every day is National Signing Day because the kids aren't bound to anything anymore. So you better be recruiting them every day of their lives because they can always leave you now.
That's so true. Jeff Traylor joining us here on the Blitz as UTSA gets ready to take on Marshall tomorrow night, 8 o'clock kickoff on ESPN. Coach, it's interesting this year, as you mentioned a few minutes ago. I mean, you're not dealing with a lot of guys that are opting out, from what I understand. So you pretty much have your team. You're not dealing with the COVIDs like you've had to deal with in the past with, either you're not there or players weren't able to play. Is it kind of nice going into this game feeling like you have your team?
Yeah, other than, we lost the outside linebacker, Trey Moore from Smithson Valley, who was a really good football player. That's a pretty big loss. But you are correct. It's been a lot more steady. We know who's going to be playing. We know the 2 deep. And all of our kids pass. Unless somebody gets sick tonight, or trips going down the elevator or something silly, or gets hurt in pregame. I've had that happen before too now. We should be all out there. So we're excited about that.
Jeff, I got to ask you, have you been able to talk with Frank about what's next for him? And I know that I don't want to get into your private conversations, but is he thinking about continuing to play football, or maybe he'd make a good coach for the UTSA Roadrunners?
I'd probably rather let him announce those plans for himself. I haven't really, I know what he's going to do, but I don't know if he wants me telling people yet. I'd rather him say that. Um, I think there's a tremendous possibility for Frank with his smile, his charm, how much people love him, how much he loves the city, how much he loves UTSA. I could see a real possibility for Frank to really help our program for years to come. But I'd rather let him talk about that instead of me getting in front of that, if y'all don't mind.
Absolutely
No, I don't
not.
mind.
Makes total sense. And what we do know, whether it's his last football game or not, it's his last football game as quarterback of the UTSA Roadrunners. You're preparing for a Marshall team that is dealing with a bunch of people in their transfer portal, and it looks like some coaching staff changes. Does that make it more difficult to prepare for an opponent when you aren't really sure who's going to be on the field for those guys?
We got to remember, just because they're in the portal, it doesn't mean they're not playing. So we don't really know who's not playing, who's playing. We just are like y'all. We can see who's in the portal. There are people all over college football right now. We're recruiting receivers right now that are in the portal. They came to us on an official visit last weekend, and I watched them scoring touchdowns in a bowl game. For their team they're still on. So just because you're in the portal doesn't mean you're out. So we're not. To your point, we don't know who we're preparing for. We'll let y'all know. Halftime adjustments will be really big in this game because that's when you're going to know who you're playing.
Well, Jeff, that's interesting because is that up to the individual schools? Because I know there are some schools that if you go to the portal, you're done. But I mean, so is that up to each individual school to decide that?
Yes, sir. It's up to the coach. And the problem is nowadays, man, you don't have much of a roster left. By the time you're at the end of the year with your injuries that have accumulated, other kids that might have opted out, other kids that got in the portal, they're already saying they're not going to play. You're just about out of kids. So some coaches are having to do it just to make sure they get it too deep. How are you going to practice? You got to practice still. I mean, it takes a lot of people to practice football. So right now the coaches' hands are tied, and with bowl season and portal, we're just doing the very best we can, man, to put a good product on the field. We're lucky this year that we're going to be out there with our guys. That's to Jason's point. It'll be the first time in 4 years you'll look out there and be able to recognize, 90% of our roster.
Well, and that's such a key thing. I don't know, Coach, with everything that you have going on with recruits, portal, bowl activities, everything else. Did you see what Chip Kelly said? And he said, not that I put a lot of thought into that, but kind of laid out some plans of some changes that might need to come to college football, at least an idea out there with the commissioner and no conferences and just kind of go. How much amongst the coaches do you guys talk about ways to fix some of the issues with college football in 2023?
All the time. When we're not in our season, right? And I love the season, but it's nice when the season's over. Like today, I was just downstairs having lunch, and I didn't have any of that responsibilities at the time. And I went to a little sports bar, and I just saw like life going on. Like I saw Colin Cowherd, I saw Stephen A. Smith up there. I saw people talking about things, and I'm like, you just forget. You go in your hole for 4 months, and when you come back out, the world's moving on without you. And when we get done with this bowl game, I'll spend a whole lot more time thinking about those things. But I saw Chip's interview. I'm with you. I thought it was a fantastic idea. All of us, to a man, we understand leadership. Like we understand the direction of our university starts with our president, goes down to our AD, then gets to us. If you don't have great leadership, you can't run an organization. We need somebody that's the leader of college football. We need a person that knows our game, making decisions. We've got so much bureaucracy going right now that it's just impossible to get anything done.
Jeff, which brings up an interesting point. I think everybody at some point in time has had a suggestion to try and fix what's going on in college football. Is it going to and I think what Chip's point was that college football is different from all the other sports, and it is. I mean, let's face it. I don't think we're telling anybody anything they don't already know. Is college football going to turn into, in your opinion, uh, free agency, which it is, and salary caps and all of that kind of stuff? Because when I look at some of these players that are in the portal demanding just millions of dollars right now, it just seems like it's completely out of control.
Yeah, we're just not going to do it. Well, we can't do it. We don't have those kind of funds, but we're not going to do it. I think until they start revenue sharing with the large money from the TV contracts to the universities, to the players, you're not going to get a handle on any of this. And at some point, our boosters are going to say, enough. We just can't keep giving for facilities, for scholarships, for tickets, for suites, for bowls, and NIL. And right now, we just got to stay afloat until that day comes. Because we've got a great job. We have a great opportunity to be one of the top schools in the country when it comes to playing college football. But we're going to have to lean on our boosters right now because we don't have NIL money. I can't recruit anybody. And I can't keep my own current roster. I mean, we are taking care of our current roster. And pretty much all we're being able to do right now is if you come play for us and you make plays, our city will take care of you. But we can't be out handing out money to recruits. We've got to take care of our own roster because we don't have enough, if that makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, it does. And then as soon as you think you've got a guy, and I know this isn't your guy, but that Raiola kid who was going to go to, let's see, I forget where he originally committed. Then he was going to go to Georgia. Then he reopened, and today he's going to Nebraska. And you know, I guess Nebraska came up with more money than Georgia. It's not I mean, have you ever seen a place like Georgia lose the number of 5-star recruits because of bidding? It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer for you. There's just not one. You're saying it correctly. It is what it is. And right now, whoever has the most money is probably going to have the most talented roster. It doesn't mean you're going to have the best football team. Coaching still matters. Caring for your teammates still matters. Loyalty still matters. All those old-fashioned values that have made America great forever will still hold true. Army beat our tail, and they're not paying $1 for NIL. And there's still a way to do it. You just got to have some special kids. And it's a 1-year team now. It's not a 4-year team anymore. And we've got to keep, you know, I don't know that I don't mind. If I was a booster, I wouldn't mind giving a little bit and watching some kids appreciate it. I wouldn't mind helping kids, right? But when you start getting to those gross amount of numbers and dollars, that's when it kind of just and the way our collectors are set up, I think matches our city. You know, Bob doing 210 City Fans. I mean, you know, doing that kickoff luncheon was one of the best things that happened for our football team ever. And everybody that contributed to that was a huge, huge win for us. And the Super Bowl party. Those are things that people enjoy. You know, Martin and April and Pat doing 210 Inspired.org. Every one of those kids are giving back to their community. It's service driven. You know, Runners Rising. I mean, ours are all like San Antonio. They're made the right way. I think that's sustainable. I'm not sure these crazy things that other people are doing is sustainable. It's going to break at some point.
It has to. It has to, because it's just getting out of hand. There's got to be some kind of guardrails. Jeff, I do know this. When 8 o'clock comes tomorrow night and the gun sounds and you kick it off, I know your kids are going to have a lot of fun. And that's really what, as a fan, that's what I'll enjoy watching.
Yeah, and I love that about the purity of my team. This is our 4th year together. Today we had our best practice. It was the last time we got to circle up. We circle up. That's a true East Texan there. We get in our triangle. I guess you can't circle up your triangle. That'd be kind of an oxymoron. But we do our triangle on that last time of a walkthrough. And our offense is on one side, defense on the other, special teams on the other. And our most spirited practice by far, our kids are going to show up and play. That's going to be enough points. I don't know, but you're going to love what they look like, how hard they play. And it's still the purity of the game that I love and coaching kids that I love. I can't wait to watch them tee it off at 8 tomorrow night.
Well, and at least you get 3 hours of just coaching football. But did you find out the answer to probably the most important question when you realized you were going to the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl? At the end of that thing, is that Gatorade bucket going to be full of hot whatever that's going to be poured on you?
It's cold coffee, I heard, and I told them, you know, I'm one of those kind of guys now. I like a little coffee with my cream. So I want it to taste good if they're going to pour it on my bald head. That'd be a good problem to have, you know, licking some coffee off your face if that's what they do to me. I'd love to have it. I'm 0 for 3 right now, so I need to get one.
a bucket of coffee over the head of one Jeff Traylor in about 28 hours from right now.
Yes.
With cream.
and a little sweet low, too, if we're going to go all the way.
There we go. Coach, congratulations on a hell of a run. Appreciate you doing this the day before the game.
Yeah.
Your game tomorrow, then signing day on Wednesday. Let's hope for 2 big wins this week.
Can't put the headsets on. It's the only 4 hours apiece you get in this crazy world of mine. Appreciate y'all. God bless. Birds up.
God bless.
Thanks,
Birds up. Jeff Traylor, head football coach at UTSA, on the Buyers Barricades guest line, where they provide traffic control, rental, and sales for San Antonio and beyond, online at buyersbarricades.com.